Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third segment of our True Talk Thursday podcast. We are going to turn to Dr. Maria Armstrong and Dr. Atiba-Weza to continue the conversation. If you like what you hear and want to learn more, subscribe below or tune in next week, Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, Francois. And again, being back here with Dr. Sonia Rodriguez, author and professor of her newly released book, and it's Latinas Leading Schools, kicking off our Women's History Month. And, we were just talking about the experiences of and how to really start to look at new ways of thinking and systems in being able to create that pipeline from the actual classroom student to getting into the profession. So, my friend Atiba comes up with some really good questions, but he also has some really good ideas. Not to put you on the spot, but go for it, Atiba.
That's all right. I have a colleague, he actually became a college president in North Carolina, and he said, one of the impetus for him to becoming an educator was in high school, there was this African-American male teacher whom he modeled himself, the way he dressed, the way he carried himself. He had a dignified presence, and he said, I want to be like him. And he got into education. In the 40s, 50s, and especially during Jim Crow, a lot of the jobs that were left for Black folk were, postal worker, nurse aide, nurse assistant, teacher, and so forth. And a sociological economist said that what happened, those parents worked hard to prepare their children for a good, quote, middle-class American life. And what did those children do? They became doctors, lawyers, philosophers, everything but teachers. And of course, at the same time, Brown versus the Board came along. So now Black kids were no longer legally relegated to one particular school system and so forth. And that led to what you call a deterioration in numbers of African-American teachers. And, we were never a whole lot in terms of the aggregate in terms of leadership, but it also slowed that progression down. I think it is important for us to be champions for our profession, let people know it is a noble profession, fight for the integrity of the profession. There was a time in the 90s where superintendents were being hired from banks, from law firms, from you name it. And some of these folks didn't have a clue because there was this notion leadership is easily transferable. That is true. But context is also important. I can't lead a group of astronauts to the moon. I wouldn't know what to do, But they think they can just come and run schools. Some were successful, but a lot of them, were not too successful. The other part, going back to what Sonia said earlier in terms of the things that she saw, and Maria, you asked, what are some of the solutions? We can all give what we call war stories, but I think what is needed is to get the sociological scholarship, if you will, where you really classify and categorize these kinds of behaviors, and then with some descriptors as to what they actually mean, not just Maria was insulted, that she was seen as the crossing guard or whatever it is, but rather what it means to holding people back in the field of their choice, and then propose solutions for addressing it. And one of them, my solution is that when people do that, you call them on it. It's not, oh, he didn't mean any harm. No, because if you don't, they will continue and up it until it's too late.
Although, Atiba, I have a question for you because, and I'll share personally, we call them on it, and it is exhausting. Like I just shared with a colleague earlier, it's like, I am tired of educating white people on their microaggressive behaviors. It's like, and so I always have to take a step back because then I'll come off as angry because it is exhausting. And so, but then I think it's very important work, because you shared earlier, because if they're treating us like that, it's about those kids in our schools, and we need to demonstrate that. And I'll share, I mean, and this year has been a crazy year, COVID, and then the Black Lives Matter movement. And so I think the good thing that has come out, it has brought and highlighted racism, systematic racism that continues to exist. The COVID, with the closures of the schools, it highlighted the inequities that our students have access to for an equitable education. It highlighted that. It's demonstrated, parents are now like, wow, teaching is difficult. We didn't realize that this is what it takes to educate. So although there was a lot of negative, there's always a light at the end of the chaos. So I think we needed that chaos to bring light to the craziness right now. So I was like, so
I think
we could.
one of the things we need to do, instead of, as you said, it becoming exhaustive, is to get white allies. When a Black man gets up and talk about racism, you say, oh, come on, you always talk about racism. When a white person gets up and talk about it, other white people listen. Because now one of them is telling them that what we did wasn't so good all along, and people tend to listen. I mean, I've heard people say, for example, how much a better president Biden is than Obama, because Biden has all these minorities and blah, 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 blah. And I said, yeah, but I don't know that's made better. Obama would not have been able to even get a hearing, whereas Biden will get, because consciously, sometimes subconsciously, when our allies on the other side advocate. Have you ever been in a meeting where you make what you think is a profound point and folks say, and then 5 minutes later, a white guy said the same thing, everybody said, damn, that's a great idea. Let's go with it. And you sitting there, you say, And it's the same thing in terms of dealing with microaggressions and racism. Sometimes we need to recruit those allies to help us fight that fight.
And I find that humorous because it happens all the time. It's like, did I not just say that? And then I'll question myself, well, maybe I did not articulate myself very well. So,
and that did not happen. We were very clear. And I throw myself in the ring on that one too, because that just happened to me just yesterday. So I'm like, really? You're going to listen to these two guys because they said it, but that's exactly what I said. But it's because they're guys, and that's why I totally get about it's so exhausting, and it's like, how do you continue to combat that? Not only getting white allies, but it's like getting my own brothers in my backyard to realize that, And so there's just still a lot of, Mars and Venus kind of stuff going on, I guess. And just being able to be open enough to be able to have a playing field where we have these discussions and these teachings and learnings for the next generation to come in and get a better handle on it, because it's like every generation, it gets better and better, we hope, right? Hope is, one of those things that you got to have faith up behind it. But at the same time, it's the more we learn, the more we owe it. We owe it to those coming up that, that we can pass the ball and they can take the ball and they can take it to the next, down the yardage there a bit. So yeah, I guess we're going to just continue to do it no matter how exhaustive it is.
And I appreciate you giving me this opportunity for this platform, because, and especially for Women's Heritage Month, because us as Latinas, we need to band together. We are hermanas, and united we make an impact. So if my hermana can move up, well, then that's a success for me. So if my other hermana, if I push her up and I didn't get that job, but she got it, hey, there's one for us. So it's women banding together. And Atiba, you said the allyship. We need, and I've shared with my white female colleagues, I need your voice. You've paved the pathway for me. You've kind of cracked the ceiling for me, but we need to shatter it. And so we need those collectives' voice. But we also, and we admit, we need to have these conversations because they're out there. We're not going to make change if we don't have these conversations. These are my stories. I'm not saying that they're your stories, but these are my experiences. And then so it helps to share. It's like, wow, you had a similar experience, so I'm not alone. But we need to have these uncomfortable conversations to make change and get people out of their comfort zone, because they don't want to be seen as racist or where I'm not racist. I was like, but you're allowing it by not saying anything about it.
The importance of not feeling like you are keep educating people. We see it playing out here in New York State, where the governor has been accused of inappropriate behavior. And he said, I didn't know folks were offended by anything that I said or did. Now, that may actually be a true and honest reflection. But maybe had someone said, yo, man, don't do that. And then someone say it again and say it again. And I'm not saying those things did not occur, because I wasn't there. I have no idea what happened. But the point is, sometimes people truly don't know what they're doing is wrong. They're so accustomed to it. It is like been normalized, so they don't know that it is wrong. And there are times when you just got to let them know in the harshest way, look, that is wrong. Because if you don't, they will always have that excuse. Oh, I didn't know that you were offended by that, Sonia. I thought we were just being collegial, and I can call it. Yes, we are being collegial. You can always call me Sonia. But if you're going to call him doctor, well, you might as well call me doctor too. You can't be, you can't have it both ways. So I think, yes, it's exhaustive, it's painful, but it is part of the work that we have to do.
It's our mission.
Yes.
It's our mission, not our lot in life. It is our mission. So that'll open up that door, crack that ceiling, shatter the ceiling, the walls, the floor, whatever we got to do. We got to keep making it work, right? One of the things I really appreciate, there was this one line in the book that like, wow, that's so powerful. I love it. And it was, it's almost like what Atiba was saying, we can't let ourselves become tired, because there are, times where, and I think it was something, something along external grace with internal rage, and it's that juxtaposition of emotion and feeling and thought of, how do we not get exhausted? How do we continue to use this as a teachable moment? How do we continue to, put up the good fight, if you will, because it is a fight worth having.
Yes. So once again, it's like powerful stories. So, I mean, these women that contributed had some great, powerful stories. And then there was similarities. Yeah. And so in all the stories that came about.
Yeah. Well, this has been so like this is one of those times where Atiba and I, we can talk to you all night, and we might still do that off camera. But the reality is we do have to wrap it up. And again, I think that what your book has brought to light, and it's not just let's sit around the campfire and share war stories, but it's more than that. It is really, I think, it's a reckoning with yourself, your ego, even at times, and I think Atiba touched a lot about that. It's about, has what I learned and does what I say matter? At the end of the day, I think that's what we all are striving for, is to make it a better, better opportunities for our kids. And I think that this book is a must read. It is so, it's just so not just important. It is timely in order for us to be able to do just like you said, and that is to band our sisterhood together, and to have that conversation with our menfolk, because our brothers also need to know that these are our stories. And if we can't play in the sandbox nice together, then what are we doing, folks, right? So I think it's a great conversation to be had. And we both just wish you so much success with the book. And again, if you could show us the cover, it is called Latinas Leading Schools.
Although I do need to give credit, this is edited by Melissa Martinez and Dr. Silvia Mendez Moore. So yes.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to bring them on too.
Yes.
And maybe Maria, when we get that academy going, maybe Sonia, you can come back and speak to some of the students about what to expect,
I'd love to. I would love to. Yes.
That's a great plug. I mean, Atiba keeps us on point. So we've got two things that we want to leave tonight with. So for those of you who have been watching or would rather listen to us in bite-sized chunks, that this is a three episodes in this segment. And so we've got two pretty amazing opportunities coming up. And one that Atiba mentioned, we're starting a collaboration between ALAS and NABSE, the National Principal Leadership Academy. And so applications are being collected now. You can go to either one of our websites and start to apply for that. We're working in concert with San Diego State University, a very good friend of ours, Joe Johnson, who's been leading schools, the National Coalition or National
Center for Urban School Leadership.
Thank you. And so, NCUST, I just go by acronyms. And so we're working in concert with them so that we can provide leadership through a Black and brown lens. And for all leaders, doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter where you come from or any of that. What it does matter is that you have that perspective for the children that we serve, right? And so with that, we're pretty darn excited about being able to launch that in come July. The second announcement that is also a collaboration between ALAS and NABSE is our upcoming first ever Education Fest. And so this Ed Fest is, it has gotten, it's gotten out of hand. It is the reason why the color in my hair is starting to fade and why Atiba's hair is almost gone. And so this collaboration is going to have over 70 workshops or breakout sessions and speakers, keynote speakers, webinars. We're going to have, I think it's like 5 different plenary superintendent panels, and it's kids are going to be performing. Kids are going to be a part of motivational breakout sessions, and we've got a bunch of stuff for everybody: parents, teachers, counselors, the CBOs in your school systems. I mean, there's something for everyone. And then it's four nights in a row, starting on Tuesday, 3 hours in the evening on the East Coast at least, and 3 hours in the latter part of the day of the afternoon on the West Coast. And so we invite you. We want to make sure everybody knows about it so that you can still register. And I guess the last part of that is on Friday, we're going to have a DJ, some giveaways, and just a good time to end up all of the hard work that we've been able to put together by a dozen of folks that have just come together and made this happen. So we look forward. We invite you, Dr. Sonia Rodriguez, to come in and take a peek at what ALAS and NABSE are all about. And with that, muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much. So honored. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Good night.
Hey there, and don't forget, if you like what you hear and want to gain some more insight into what school districts are facing now, then tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. or subscribe below. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great night.